Multiplex theaters are mesmerizing both the Korean audience and foreign moviegoers and drawing people to theaters. Korean multiplex theaters are making their mark in foreign countries with distinct theater concepts that suit the countries and regions, as well as services that are in tune with the foreign audience. In particular, CJCGV has begun branching out to foreign countries. It set up its first theater in Shanghai, China in 2006, and since then has opened a total of 30 theaters in China. They even have one in Los Angeles. The companies have set up a cultureplex where visitors can enjoy exhibitions and soak up some culture. 40 screens have been set up as well. It was good to hear that Korean theaters are trendsetters in foreign countries through cultural correspondent Park Ji-won's report. Korea's Small and Medium Business Administration recently released a report on the top venture companies that are dominating the global market, and at the end of 2013, a total of 63 companies were number one in market share. When divided by industrial classification, machinery, manufacturing, and automaking made up 35.5%. Computers, semiconductors, and electrical appliances took up 18.3%, and the food and beverage, textile, and non-metal sectors took up 17.2%. With the creative economy, we hope more Korean venture companies will come in first place in market share on the global stage. Reporter Song Ji-sun delivered this report. The body of a victim from April's Sewol-ho ferry tragedy was found more than 100 days after the last discovery. Reporter Kwon So-a covered the details of the search operation. In the evening of October 28th, a body was discovered inside the sunken Sewol-ho ferry off Korea's southwestern coast. However, due to poor conditions, the divers had a hard time recovering the body. The victim was discovered more than 6 months after the tragic disaster, and more than 3 months since the previous body was recovered. There are now 9 victims unaccounted for. This discovery pushes the death toll in the tragedy to 295. Finance correspondent Hwang Ji-hye visits the studio on the 3rd floor. She is busy preparing for a newscast. What could have happened to Ji-hye?
First of all, Hyun-kyung got married. Yay! So she's taking a week and a half off for her honeymoon. So while she's gone, I'm taking her position, and that's why I'm anchoring for the newscast in the afternoon, the 14, 16, 18 newscasts. And I feel very grateful about the opportunity, and also I'm very burdened at the same time, but I hope I have a lot of fun for the week and a half.
She'll be fine. She's an excellent reporter / soon-to-be anchor.
A rehearsal takes place prior to her first live broadcast as an anchor.
Hello and welcome. It's Friday, October 24th here in Seoul. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. It looks like North Korea may be seeking...
Through the screen in front, Ji-hye monitors herself practicing and learns which camera to look at. Hyun-kyung was also in the studio.
Favorite Korean foods, goods actually, and services. 수고하셨어요.
Usually Korean, the way Korean...
After the rehearsal, she gave Ji-hye some advice for hosting the newscast.
고마워요. 수고하셨어요.
Next Monday, Ji-hye came into the office early in the morning. She seems nervous, unlike during the rehearsal. The first thing Ji-hye does is check the reports. She has to get her hair and makeup done in the morning. Ji-hye wants to look neat as she is going to be on screen for a long time.
여기 조금만 더 여기 이렇게 될 것 같아요.
She felt a little strange about her look during the rehearsal, and she knows herself the best. so Ji-hye decided to do her makeup on her own. After paying careful attention, Ji-hye's physical transformation into an anchor is finally complete.
I think what I've done for the past 3.5 years as a reporter here at Arirang is what I did to prepare to be a good anchor. A lot of my colleagues who started work before me, they always told me that being a good reporter is always the start of being a good anchor. And I really figured that that is really true, and that's so important because unless you're a good reporter, I really figured that you can't be a good anchor because you really have to be on top of everything you read or write or what you do on air. So I guess that is what I did to become a good anchor.
Ji-hye didn't even take time to eat lunch, but already there's only about 50 minutes left. She calmly continues her tasks leading up to 2 p.m.
그러면 환율한 다음에 월드 하고 보통 몇 개를 빼요, 여기서? 이거 세월호 이거 가족 신체 인양 여부 투표 이게 딱 2시에 나오나 봐. 그래서 차라리 이걸 빼고 다른 거를 넣는 게 나을 것 같지? 총선 이거 브라질까지 묶어서 그냥 가고 홍콩을 뺄까? 네, 감사합니다. 네.
She's gone over the reports, and soon it's time for the 2 p.m. newscast. Reporter Im Yoon-hee is in the studio with Ji-hye for the 2 p.m. news. The program begins on time like it always does.
It's Monday, October 27th here in Korea, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Hwang Ji-hye filling in for Laah Hyun-kyung this week. Now, the prospects for a planned round of high-level talks between the two Koreas remain very much in doubt. Hwang So-a reports.
It's obvious that Ji-hye is nervous. She looks through the stories front and back while the news packages are being aired.
And while inter-Korean relations remain frosty, South Korean companies...
There are several cameras set up in the studio. The video footage captured on camera goes to the studio control center, and the news production team puts together the various video footage for the news. Delivering the arts and culture segment with Yoon-hee means that the 30-minute-long 2 p.m. newscast is almost coming to a close.
2 p.m. newscast. Thanks for watching.
And finally, Ji-hye's first newscast as an anchor has come to an end.
I really figured what the afternoon anchors are going through, like how hard it is to do 3 newscasts a day because I was so exhausted after just finishing one, and also how much work there is to do good anchoring. That's what I felt and I learned after finishing my first newscast. And also how much anchoring is energy consuming. Like for the 30 minutes you're on air, you're like really using up all your energy. I didn't feel like doing like 2 more, but eventually I finished doing it. So it was a tough day and it was a fun experience.
Ji-hye returns to the news center.
근데 빨간불 안 들어도 그냥 가는 거야?
왜냐면 우리는 카메라를 이렇게 잡았으니까 딴 카메라를 쓰고 있었으니까 비디오 갔다가 스튜디오를 넘어가거나 이러면은 큐 소리를 듣고 해야 돼. 알겠습니다. 16C는 대담이 없으니까 좀 그래도 날 거야. 비즈니스 헤드라인을 빨리 써줘야 돼.
She just finished the newscast, but still has a lot of work to do. There's a little over an hour left before the 4 p.m. newscast, and Ji-hye begins organizing the business headlines first.
그냥 IMF로 하고 코스피로 비즈 헤드라인을 하기도 해? 아 그래?
아니면 ITO야.
아 그거? 그거. 그래. 좋아.
She's been covering the economics field for quite some time as a reporter, so is at ease writing the business headlines.
아니면 인더스트리 인사이트를 뒤로 한 다음에 그다음 비즈 헤드라인 한 다음에 이게 진짜 장난 아니구나. 지원 선배 거를 위로? 네, 25분이네요. 감사합니다. 네.
Soon after confirming the lineup, it's time again for the newscast. Ji-hye rushes down to the fourth floor studio.
27일은 맞죠? 27일.
The 4 p.m. newscast is anchored by her alone.
27th here in Seoul. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Hwang Ji-hye filling in for Laah Hyun-kyung.
But she is surrounded by the news packages produced by her colleagues.
Hwang So-a reports. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
She looks a little more composed than before and reads through the stories while the video footage is airing.
I think one of the most interesting parts of being an anchor is that you get to look at the overall flow of everything that's going to be on air, and that you get to know the big picture of what's going on right now. While as a reporter, you're more focused on what you're writing today, what particular news is all about. As an anchor, I think you get to know the overall flow of what happened in that day.
Directly afterward, Ji-hye begins preparing for the early edition at 6 newscast. The in-depth discussion is important.
지난번에 foreign minister하고 defense minister 미팅에서
2+2요?
어떠한 것이 메인 허들이고 어떠한 것이 중요 쟁점이냐 하는 걸 물어보면 그냥 이러한 서베이로 다시 얘기하지 말고 거기에서 그러한 어그리먼트에 서로
그러니까 over the weekend 이런 의견차를 좁혔다고 했는데 그 나머지 이거는 괜찮아요?
네, 그건 괜찮아요. 네.
감사합니다.
Professor Hwang Il-soon of the Department of Nuclear Engineering at Seoul National University is visiting Arirang TV today. Ji-hye is on her toes as she not only has to host the news, but also lead the talk with the guest. And plus, the evening news has many updated reports.
소아야, 그 구형이 그럼 다 나온 거야?
They didn't hand it down. They demanded a death sentence, and the others, and 3 other main crew members, life in prison.
You'll talk about that in your package, right? This looks right. Oh, opening. 18도 오프닝이 있지 참. No, I'm gonna do it. It's okay.
Ji-hye feels she doesn't have sufficient time to prepare for the early edition at 6 newscast, but having a co-anchor makes her a bit more relaxed.
I put in extra questions, extra copies of the questions, so
Yeah.
don't worry about the professor.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Ji-hye runs again. She greets Professor Hwang Il-soon in the studio and talks briefly with him.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 스타트.
Welcome to Early Edition at 6, live from Seoul. I'm Hwang Ji-hye.
And I'm Daniel Chan. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here with us, Ji-hye, today.
Thank you. Today, prosecutors demanded the death penalty for the captain who was charged with negligent homicide and life in prison. Kwon So-a starts us off.
After leading in with the reports, the in-depth discussion session began.
Nuclear weapons. What is your analysis on the survey, Professor?
That survey has been made with some political intentions.
Ji-hye conducts an interesting talk with the guest, and the in-depth segment came to an end on a good note.
By North Korean agents in the 1970s and 1980s. So Ebola, you're reading the Ebola one too, right?
Working in tune with the co-anchor for the early edition at 6 newscast is different from when she was anchoring on her own.
Ranging from 14 to 20 degrees.
On her first day as an anchor, every moment is a challenge, especially the early edition at 6 newscast.
The 6 p.m. newscast is more about how you interact with your partner, with your co-anchor, with my co-anchor, Daniel Che. So in that sense, I think 18 newscast was more fun, but at the same time, it's kind of more intense because we also have the in-depth segment. So I think it's more about how you interact with the panels, with the co-anchor, and also we have more updates for 18. I think it's more about giving a full updates of what happened that day to our viewers.
Early on Wednesday, October 29th, Ji-hye is feeling rushed. On her third day as anchor, Ji-hye is called to do the live broadcast of President Park Geun-hye's administrative policy speech.
2분 전이고요. 지혜씨 현장 넘어가면 현장 설명도 하고 뭐 그래요. 5, 4, 3, 2, 스타트. 뒤줄. 큐.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Hwang Ji-hye, and you're tuned into our special coverage of President Park Geun-hye's parliamentary address. In just a few minutes, we'll go live to the National Assembly. And now we're at the National Assembly. President Park is about to give her speech there.
그 연금법이랑 여야지도 회동 얘기하세요 계속.
And going back to the pending issues going on at the National Assembly.
As was promised last year.
Coincidence can be a present for a fully prepared person.
2015 budget plan.
Ji-hye has been handed an opportunity and has full control over her new position.
And it shows that the manufacturing production.
She is hosting the news for the first time, so there are many challenges and even some mistakes. But we are sure that Ji-hye will benefit from what she has learned in this new experience.
We'll bring you more updates in our newscast at noon. Thanks for watching. I think filling in for Hyun-kyung is a very big opportunity and also a very big challenge for me. But I'm very grateful that I actually have this chance to anchor while she's gone. And also, I think this really marks the very beginning of what I eventually want to be, although I'm not quite sure about what I want to be in 20, 30 years, but I think I will be in this industry for a while, or maybe until I die. So I think this marks the very beginning. I think this would be a very embarrassing memory maybe after like 10, 20 years, but I think this would be a very memorable week and a half for me later on.
카카오톡으로 대표되는 사이버 검열에 대해서 젊은 친구들이 되게 관심을 가지고 있기는 한데, 우리가 이 주제를 가지고 여러 전문가들을 모시고 얘기를 해봄으로 해서 우리가 생각하는 것처럼 그렇게 뭐 걱정할 것은 아니다라는 것도 알려줄 필요가 있는 것 같고요. 또 이 사이버 검열이 약간 그 글로벌한 이슈가 돼서 진짜 이게 맞는 건지 아닌지 그런 약간 글로벌 이슈로 한번 짚어보고 싶었어요. 이준석 대표 같은 경우에는 우선 정치인이잖아요. 정치인이라서도 있고 또 본인 자체가 그 벤처기업가라서 우리에게 정치인의 입장 또는 벤처기업가의 입장 또 젊은 세대를 대표할 수 있는 그런 인물이라서 저희가 모시게 됐고요. 송세령 교수님 같은 경우에는 법률 쪽에서 정말 우리가 이걸 걱정을 해야 하는지 아니면 걱정할 이슈가 아니라는지 그런 좀 약간 법률 자문을 구하기 위해서 모셔봤어요.
교수님 카톡 쓰세요?
네.
텔레그램으로 안 해보셨어요?
아니,
저 어제 다운 받아봤거든요. 이것 때문에.
궁금해서 해볼까 했는데 게을렀어요.
You still use KakaoTalk. Why is that? Why haven't you migrated yet?
I don't think what I say doesn't really affect or be affected by the authorities. So I'm not too much worry about the communications.
Do you still use KakaoTalk or?
I don't want to blame any of the Kakao people because you know it's a law issue.
Right. But do you use it?
Yeah. For 90% of the time.
90%. Okay. All right.
The last 10%, my friends started using a Telegram, but ceased after like 2-3 days, I think.
Oh, right.
It doesn't continue.
Yeah, I just wanted to check it out.
저희 막 옷 갈아입기도 같이
Hello and welcome to Upfront. I'm Kang Tae-ri. October was quite a busy month, especially at Korea's National Assembly with the state audit of government offices, and taking center stage this time was the issue of state cyber surveillance.
On the media it says like about 3 million people converted, but I would say converted is not a good word for it.
This has to be a secondary form of investigation, not the primary form.
That's where the two pillar of the make a great business.
The ruling and opposition parties went toe-to-toe against one another until the last day of the National Assembly's inspection of government offices.
People have raised concerns over the possibility of their private information being accessed in cyberspace.
안녕하세요.
어떠한 제도적 대안이 필요할까요, 앞으로?
우선은 통신비밀보호법을 새로운 환경과 기술에 맞춰서 개정해야 됩니다.
통지도 적극적으로 잘 해줘야 돼요.
아무래도 프론트가 그 스튜디오에서 제작할 때 있어서 출연자분이 3명의 제한성이 있거든요. 근데 이제 다양한 의견들을 들어야 되기 때문에 현장에서 특히 이번 회차 같은 경우는 카카오톡 논란에 대해서 그 의원분들의 의견이 중요했거든요. 그래서 직접 현장에 가서 각 정당의 분들을 만나서 이야기를 들은 겁니다.
The heated discussions and debates continue.
And you guys were talking about the misjudgment on the part of the government and the Park Geun-hye administration.
Probably necessarily so. They've been pretty lax without security.
I think KakaoTalk definitely knows how the public demand is on. So
Thanks so much for coming in today and going upfront about this issue.
감사합니다.
와, 이렇게 우리 다 같이 방송인이 계시니까 이렇게 하니까.
Maybe it's because it's one of the issues that, deal with us, that affect us all, everybody, 90% of our Korean population, and I think that's why we had quite a debate, and I think, we didn't really have a conflict or disagreements there, but then I think it was a healthy conversation, and I really am thankful for the panelists.
It's a really special opportunity for me because I go daily on Korean channel TVs, but it's a completely different experience and I really liked it here. So I would be honored if I can get invited more and more.